Hey guys, welcome to Spiritual Journey. My name is Colleen Jorgensen, and we're going to talk about the upcoming lunation full moon that's set to arrive on the 12th of April in just a couple days at 23 degrees of Libra, 20 minutes. And it's going to be in the evening. So we're going to have this bright full moon emerging. So get out there and enjoy it. Full moons are a peak of energy. They're a culmination of awareness. That's why, many people call this lunacy when people overreacted at these times of the month. And it is true that full moons can bring about this energy that people can act a little loony or a little crazy. So you must be aware of the lunation and when they arrive each and every month, just so you can be on top of the emotions that ride with the full moon. So this moon lands in the sign of Libra, and Libra is the sign that is very accommodating. It seeks balance, fairness, wants to share, cooperate. And it's strongly associated with diplomacy, uh, civility. It wants to bring us together in unison, in partnerships, in marriages, alliances. And it assesses all the options and everything that's available to it. It kind of waits for other people to make the move, and it doesn't want to overstep itself. So it has trouble making a decision because it really doesn't want to offend anybody. And so, of course, it rules those diplomats that go to other countries and they want to accommodate the country that they're in and they want to form some sort of agreement. Now, right now, with all the chaos that's kind of going on with the tariffs, which are on again, off again, and is there a sense of coming to the table to come to some sort of resolution and agreement that is fair to both parties? So this lunation or this full moon could actually really heighten the need to come to the table in discussion and create a balance instead of this teeter-totter extremes that are happening. So it's about peacemaking, and it's really about those resolutions where everybody's happy and we can proceed in good grace and good consciousness. So if you're having trouble within your circumstances, this lunation may bring some of that to life and the ability to come to the table and discover what it is that caused the rifts in the first place. Now, the moon in this circumstance, in this lunation, is peregrine. And that means it doesn't really have any standing. It doesn't have any support there. And it's really kind of exiled out of that support. So it holds a little ability to manage its own affairs without somebody else's assistance. And some popular people here can actually fall from grace, and others can rise in their popularity because the moon rules the population and popularity, the pulse of the people. And what is really going to resonate with this lunation, especially in Canada, because there's an election going on, is speaking the truth to the population, and being honest about your intentions. And not only being honest, because this lunation is going to hold you to account. Um, but but really pulling through with those things, those promises that you're making to the population. Venus rules this moon. She is in Pisces. She's well supported in Pisces. She's very creative. She's very lush with excitement and visions for the future. She is heightened right now because she is stationary. She is neither retrograde or direct. And this happened with our last new moon because Mercury was in the same position. And both Mercury and Venus are like two little fighter jets that are ushering in Neptune's energy at 00 degrees of Aries, which is on the world axis. So it's vitally important, the dynamics and the energies of these two smaller inner planets, which are really about how we're communicating and how we're feeling about each other, which is plugging into this full moon. So she is her energy is really heightened. And Venus rules things like this money. And she rules income, people's income, the ability to afford the goods and services coming from Mercury, and trade, which is important for the merchant of Mercury. So it's interesting that we're on this new avenue of negotiating trade agreements and how financially they're going to impact the population. And are they going to be worth our effort? But something new is coming, a new vision for the future. And how is that going to work out for you? Because there's a lot of Aries here. So this is personal. This is getting personal for each and every one of us in the world. So right now she's a morning star. She's fresh, renewed from her retrograde station. She's full of vitality and vigor, and she's eager for the fight. She's got lots of energy, and she's feisty. She's up for the challenge. So she actually is joined up with Saturn. And Saturn is making things really serious for her. So financial markets are serious business right now with the trade agreements and Mercury. And yet she's in Pisces, and so is Saturn in Pisces. So there's a lot going on in the background, behind closed doors, strategic maneuvers that perhaps will be revealed to some opponents and maybe come to the table with negotiations. She's really creative here to nail it down, figure it out, take her time to know what is the best course of action. And she is slowing things down. Let's just back up a minute. Let's just play our cards, as Trump would say, in a very mindful way so we don't get ahead of ourselves. Now, this combination is about loyalty. It's rewarding those individuals who have allegiances to the ones that are on top, because Saturn rules governments and those in positions of power. So those individuals who are in alignment with various leaders definitely are obtaining reward for these allegiances. So ambition is paying off here, and your quiet, waiting in the scenes, being diligent is going to be beneficial for you. And it sort of holds this little circle of people to be very closely connected. New connections are emerging in business, however, and some of the ventures for the future are going to be actually quite prosperous with a lot of financial gains. Except Neptune is elusive. We don't know what that looks like, and we don't know how this is all going to work out and benefit us. So the sun's at 23 degrees of Aries, directly across from the moon, and the earth is right in between these two. And the sun is right in between Eris and Chiron. And this is kind of like a rebellious energy that produces a lot of discord and chaos, which we can kind of see with some leaders who are, well, Trump is doing this, and opening up some wounds here and causing a lot of rifts to take place. And Chiron is the wounded healer. So, how are we going to heal some of these things that are happening? And if this is happening in your own life, you could have had a rift, especially around that lunar eclipse on March 14th. And you're just not quite sure how I'm going to go about repairing that rift without causing some chaos and rebellious activity. So Chiron and Eris are actually going to be really important here in the future because they're just coming together now, and they're going to be hit their first combination, a new cycle on May 26th. They're going to do it again on October 8th and again on March 19th. So pay attention to what's happening right now at this full moon. You know, Eris is the god of discord. She is the one who crashes the party. Like in Sleeping Beauty, she wasn't invited, and so she put a curse out there to Sleeping Beauty. But she was also the goddess of discord that wasn't invited to the supper of the gods, and so she threw the golden apple into the air, and the goddesses began to fight over who was the fairest. And this, of course, led to the Trojan War. And so it's not that Eris gets out on the street and fights. What I find her to do is she provokes. She creates an energy of discord, and it gets everybody else fighting. It's not necessarily like she's out there on the streets, fists up, and says, "Here I am." No, she threw the golden apple in the air and she let everybody else fight it out. And she stood back and she watched, and made them realize what it is like to be excluded, to not be in a favorable standing, and really how that feels to be treated unfairly. And that kind of plays in to the energy of the world right now. Who is being treated fairly? Who isn't being treated fairly? And are we opening up some old wounds from yesteryears that actually need to be healed? So this becomes personal. This isn't just, one party in an agreement saying, I'm not going to agree to those terms and conditions. This becomes personal for some reason. And you can kind of see that emerging between the United States and China right now, that now it's a matter of personal. It's not a matter of negotiating out terms and conditions. It's more like, I'm not going to do this, no matter what you say. And that is really a revelation to some degree, but it's really telling because now it's really not about the people, the opposition to the people, or the well-being of the people or peace for the people. It's more about two leaders kind of hashing it out. And what's interesting is that this lunation is going to drive right into Mars in the sign of Cancer, who's kind of been in there and out of Cancer since way back in October of last year. And this puts a lot of pressure on protectionist activity. And it is challenging because the moon is ruling Mars. So this is the people are standing up and saying, I'm willing to sacrifice in for patriotism of my country. I'm willing to stand up and do I need to do. And this can produce a lot of tension with this T square, can produce a lot of friction, anger. So now we got the people, the leader of the people, and this, whatever this is, patriotism, protectionism of my country, my home, my values. And it's aggressive. It's an aggressive stance to maintain balance and harmony and stand in my truth and stand in my principle. So it's fragile. Peace is very fragile here, and negotiations are very fragile as well. And they could go sideways really at any time, and they could produce aggressive moves in the name of the people, but also in the name of the country and the patriotism. So we got a lot of tension that is building up here. And what are the motives? What is the end result or end thing? Then on top of that, we have a full moon. We have this T square driving into Mars in Cancer. And then we have a yod that is directed at the apex directly towards the moon in Libra, who is in Peregrine, no man's land. We don't know what's going to happen. The population doesn't have any idea. So the sextile between Uranus and Saturn is the thing that is in conjunct to the moon, and that's the base of this yod. And it's going to be active really until the end of this sextile between Uranus and Saturn is a positive thing. It's going to be active until November of 2025 and even to the end of 2025. This is good. This opens up doorways to innovation. It stabilizes scientific breakthroughs. It's very constructive, finds solutions to things through thinking differently because Uranus wants to think differently. Uranus is very progressive. It's very equality driven, independent, and it wants leeway. It wants freedom to exercise those things. So definitely there's more slack here and more ability to maneuver around with certain ideas and technologies. So technologies is going to be on the rise, more funding for technologies, scientific breakthroughs, advances in health, and because Uranus is the DNA of our bodies, so it's going to advance us there, as we've seen already with the formation of some new technology that has brought back an old species. So we're going to start to really delve into futuristic developments and futuristic sciences that are going to be innovative, but they're also going to question our morals and ethics. And is this the right thing to do? Those inconjuncts, they create this sense of, I don't know what to do with this problem, that there is no solution to it. I don't know what to do with it. So it just sits there. It is annoying whenever it's triggered, but it's just, I don't know how to use this. Similar to, you know, new technologies coming on board and older people like myself going, I don't know what this means. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how it works. And so it causes this difficulty. And this lunation could bring some of this to light, that all of this advancement in the technologies, which are going to boom here, um, do we really know how to use them? Are the people keeping up with them? And how can we adapt and adjust in order to utilize these new inventions? So the moon is also in conjunct Uranus, and that's really lacks insight into things like AI, like what is the real impact that artificial intelligence is going to have on humanity and the population. It's really fast paced, it's moving so quickly. It's kind of unpredictable and really hard to grasp. The public at large, because it's driving into the public, things are changing really quickly, and the mood of the population is changing very quickly. So one day they could go, yeah, that sounds fair, that sounds right. And the next day they could be going into all out war. So this lunation is pretty wild, to say the least. Very unpredictable, and things are moving at such a fast, diverse way that we can hardly keep up with everything. And this becomes emotionally unstable. Like it's really unstable. The thing about Libra is one of the signs that's associated with justice. And this lunation is really intertwined, as the moon is connected and involved in so many larger configurations like the T square and the yod. And Venus, the ruler, is combining with the strength of Saturn. So the population is really looking for those agreements, but through justice. So the justice system is probably under a great deal of pressure in many jurisdictions and can be looked upon as the answer to the question, what is the truth? And is it legal? Is it the appropriate thing? And can one person do this? So we've seen this in the United States with the Supreme Court standing up, and Trump with Trump's mandates for using old laws and intercepting different judges' decisions. So things here are rapidly changing and moving very swiftly with certain actions. And there's very aggressive moves. And they are for the stance of, I want the truth. And some things can start to be revealed because of the wounded healer, Chiron, and Eris stepping in, and Mars forcing these issues. So there's a need here to correct the imbalances, but it's a really precarious. Anything could trigger angry responses and sort of I'm making a stand here. And it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, I'm now protecting my own interests. But there is room here to move forward in a very solid, advanced way, because Mars is trine to Saturn, Venus in the North Node, and commitments, solid commitments can unfold. Um, and so, in some cases, if one person is standing their ground in defense of their population, the patriotism, the defense of their country, they most likely are going to receive some respect out of that. And so if you're in a position where there's an ethical, moral thing going on, you might just feel like you need to stand your ground, that you're in the right. They see it's once again a karmic energy because Saturn is involved here, and there's kind of a reckoning, I guess, of karmic energies emerging. Neptune is newly in Aries, as I've mentioned already, with a new vision for the world, and a new belief system, and it's opening awareness about what I can do personally. What is my role? How can I step in and change the world? Or can I step in and change the world? And so there's some vulnerability here, but we can get swept away with new spiritual growth and new avenues to express our spirituality. What is really important here is the fixed star of Spica is sitting right here beside the moon. And the fixed star of Spica is very fortunate, one of the more fortunate stars in the sky. And it's associated with this lunation, and it's beneficial for partnerships and coming together in those agreements and balancing things out for both parties. Once again, it kind of signals the advancement of certain individuals through their popularity and their advancements. And that kind of shoots them up higher into popularity. And yet, because there's this karmic reckoning energy, other people are going to be falling, and some people are going to reap what they have sown. So this is another pretty dynamic. We've just come out of those eclipses, and now we're right back into it in April. But it is easing up, and we could almost feel like the tension is starting to relax itself a little bit, as we merge into the energies of April. So stay in touch, press the like button, and keep in touch with me as I start to talk about different things, because there's a lot going on in the world right now. So do a little meditation at this full moon, and just keep loving yourself. So I'll catch you next time. Have a great day. Bye.